California politicians just passed yet another law that's going to raise your electricity rates by forcing you to pay for some very expensive power. Coming up, I'll tell you what's going on and how we're leading the fight to stop it. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and you've probably noticed that your electricity rates have gone sky high in California. And in fact, we have the highest electricity rates in the country. And it's not your four-letter utility company that you should be blaming. You should be blaming the politicians. And I'll explain in a moment the scam that they've got going on that's resulted in your rates being so high. But let me share with you the latest law that they've passed that's going to cost you a lot of money. Here it is. The Associated Press has a story. California legislature approves plan allowing the state to buy power. And that seems like a pretty innocuous headline, right? Allowing the state to buy power. I didn't know that they needed permission. I didn't know that anyone was stopping them. Well, there's a catch. You see, the state of California liberal Democrats that control the legislature, they don't like it that power companies feel compelled to do what's right for their customers. And by that, I mean they are out there trying to buy the cheapest, most reliable power possible for their customers. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of the utility companies. They are always looking to make profits. Except here in California, in which case they're not making as much profit as the other companies around the country. But in this case, they actually are trying to do the right thing for their ratepayers by saying that they don't want to buy a certain type of power because they find it to be prohibitively expensive to their ratepayers and unreliable. And so we're talking about wind energy. And in particular, offshore wind energy. You see the Enviro wackadoos on the far left. They said, wow, wouldn't it be nice if the utility companies would pay to invest in wind energy off the coast of California to build a bunch of windmills? And the utility companies said, yeah, that's expensive, unreliable. We don't want to buy that power. So as a result, the whole notion that if you build it, they will come is in question in the market. And the companies that are trying to build these big wind turbines out there in the middle of the ocean, they've said, okay, well, if the market doesn't want to buy our power, let's get the politicians to force people to buy our power. And that's what this bill is all about. The legislature has voted to instruct the Newsom administration to buy massive amounts of electricity from these wind farms. Now, the way the AP is spinning it is dishonest, to say the least. It's biased. They say it's a move aimed at avoiding blackouts, a move aimed at avoiding blackouts by shoring up the state's power supply. Hold on a second. There are a lot of cheaper ways to avoid blackouts in California. It's called build more natural gas power plants on land. Very cheap energy, pretty environmentally clean, and very reliable. But that's not at all what would characterize wind energy off the coast of California. That's going to be very unreliable because you are at the whim of the wind. And of course, it's very expensive energy. But Associated Press wants to lie to their readers because they have a partisan agenda. They're trying to promote and pimp and primp the politicians in California. So they write that little line in there, a move aimed at avoiding blackouts. Adam Beam, the reporter, shame on you. If you actually wanted to report honestly on what's going on, is that the legislature it passes a bill forcing ratepayers to pay through the you-know-what higher costs for vanity energy, expensive wind energy off the coast. You see, he goes on to explain that fact without actually telling readers what's really going on. He's trying to bamboozle them and narrative drive by saying it's about avoiding blackouts. He says 5 companies paid roughly $750 million last year to lease areas off the California coast to build wind turbines. Well, whoop-de-doo. They're idiots, basically. They paid $750 million to lease places to put their little windmills. Again, that's going to be expensive energy. Why would you make a decision to do that? Spend almost $1 billion, unless you knew that you were going to buy politicians in the state legislature. There we go. It's the money. Follow the money in politics, and you will find an explanation for corruption, for lack of logic, for inefficiency, for insanity, really. And this is insane that these investors would go out there and spend almost $1 billion when there's no market for this, where the utility companies say, we don't want to buy that expensive energy, and that energy is unreliable. So the AP reporter dutifully reports that those projects could generate 3.5 million homes worth of energy. Well, that's great, but imagine what you could actually generate at a far lower price with clean natural gas on land. But hey, climate change, carbon. Goes on to say, the state's largest utility companies have not been willing to commit to buying power from projects like those because it would cost too much money and take too long to build. Finally, rational thought. Finally, adults in the room. But nope. The politicians need to be the ones to put their thumb on the scale and force ratepayers to buy expensive energy. By the way, the article also points out, in addition to building the wind turbines, which will be expensive, the projects require improvements at the state ports and new power lines to transport energy from the ocean to the land. Who's paying for that? That's right, the ratepayer. So what does the bill require? It says that the state can buy the power from these very influentially, politically contributing windmill builders, and that how are we going to pay for it? Are you ready for this? Because there's no free money. There's no unicorn in the backyard that has free money. It says, quote, the money would come from a surcharge imposed on California's electricity bills. That means you get to pay for the most expensive energy out there. Congratulations, Californians. Your Democrat liberal politicians have screwed you again. I mean, come on. It is so apparent what's going on here. The market didn't want this expensive power. It's cheaper to do it through other mechanisms. So these politically connected windmill builders come in and say, hey, let's get the politicians to buy the energy and force the ratepayer, you, to pay higher rates. This is insane. This is why your rates are so high. Take a look at thetransparencyfoundation.org. They've got a bombshell study out exposing why your rates are so high. $4.5 billion in hidden state taxes and fees that were added to your bill by the politicians through the Public Utilities Commission. On top of that, climate mandates add even more cost. And this is an example of a climate mandate in that we're forcing electricity that's much, much more expensive to be purchased by you, the ratepayer, which means your bill is going to be much higher than it should be. As a result, the Transparency Foundation shows a 67% increase in electricity costs versus the national average, and it's only going to get worse. In fact, we're predicting a doubling of the rates in the next 3 years alone due to these climate mandates, these restrictive, expensive policies that they've got. We're urging you to join the fight to stop the rate hikes. We have a campaign on the website, stoputilityratehikes.com, stoputilityratehikes.com. When you go to that website, you'll learn more information about why the rates are so high in California. Share that information, share the news articles that are up there, and sign the petition opposing rate hikes at the California Public Utilities Commission. You also can chip in a contribution. We are entirely grassroots funded. We need your help to fight rate hikes. And one of the things we're doing at the Reform California movement is we've sponsored a yes vote on the California Taxpayer Protection Initiative that would stop these rate hikes from being imposed. It would say that government can't force you to buy energy that's more expensive than the market, that they can't add hidden fees and try to avoid calling them taxes to your utility bill. And so this is crucial that we pass this initiative, the California Taxpayer Protection Initiative. It will help us block not only tax increases and protect Prop 13, but also stop these crazy utility rate hikes as well. Go to that website, stoputilityratehikes.com, and join the fight. Also, like and subscribe to this channel so that we can continue to provide you with these breaking news updates. Like this video, share this video, help us goose the algorithm so that we can break through the censorship of the liberal media. Until next time, this is Carl DeMaio with Reform California. Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.